I want to tell you something I haven't said out loud before. I genuinely want more women in this field. I've had female role models who shaped who I am. And I still felt it, that quiet sting when another woman achieved something I wanted. Not resentment, something subtler. Something I was ashamed of because it seemed to contradict everything I believed about myself. For a long time I thought something was wrong with me. There isn't, but there's something worth understanding. And I think a lot of women carry this alone. Not because they're competitive, but because they don't have language for what's actually happening. I'm an engineer, which means I've spent most of my career being the only woman in the room. And when that changed, something unexpected happened. For years I was the only woman on my team. We were about 15 people, and honestly, I thrived. I felt respected, taken seriously, and intellectually stretched. I even had conversations with my male colleagues about what it was like being the only woman in the room. And still, sometimes I wished another woman was there. Someone who would just understand certain dynamics, without me having to translate them first. So when I joined a smaller team with 2 other women, I felt genuinely excited. Finally! And yet, something unexpected happened. Not tension between us, tension inside me. I started comparing myself. Not dramatically, not in a I don't want her to succeed way. Just small internal calibrations. Where do I stand next to her? Is she more strategic? More naturally authoritative? Does she seem steadier? And I remember noticing it and thinking, I don't like that I'm doing this, because I genuinely want women to succeed. I've had incredible female role models. They mattered deeply to me, and I want to become that for someone else. But the moment I thought about becoming that kind of woman, another layer activated. Am I senior enough? Visible enough? Too quiet? Too intense? And here's the part that's uncomfortable to admit. When I saw another woman achieve something I wanted, sometimes there was a split second of me feeling behind. Not resentful, just late. Intellectually, I know success isn't finite, but identity level stuff doesn't rewire as fast as beliefs do. For a while I kept asking myself, is this competition? But then I noticed something. This almost never activated around men. Which meant it probably wasn't just ambition, it was something else. So I figured this can't be rivalry or jealousy in the traditional sense. It has to be something more specific. And I call it identity proximity. Identity proximity is when you see your future self in someone else while you're already close. It's a mirror that arrives before you're ready for it. So I identified 3 conditions that need to be met to arrive at that identity proximity state. They all need to overlap simultaneously. If you take one away, that feeling or activation disappears. But if we have all 3 conditions met together, you get this feeling I described. The first one is about the other person. You see her, and she's on a similar path. She's close enough to you for your system to register that. And in a way, you recognize yourself in her. Similarity is when you recognize yourself in someone else. The second part is about your positioning relative to her. She's not just similar, she's slightly ahead. And so she represents something you're still becoming. But she's also close enough that your system registers her success as achievable for yourself. I call it embodiment. And embodiment is when her position shows you exactly where you're going. And the third section is about you. You are between who you were and who you're becoming. You're not yet stable enough to hold the mirror without friction. But you're also close enough to recognize the possibility right in front of you. Transition is the in-between. You're no longer who you were, but you haven't fully arrived yet. That's the vulnerable space. And when all 3 conditions meet, the activation happens. And then you're in the identity proximity space. It's not rivalry. It's a mirror that arrives before you're ready for it. And if you remove just one of the 3 conditions, that feeling also disappears. Let's look at similarity and embodiment only. You see her and you recognize yourself in her, and she's on a journey that's similar to you. But you're either already arrived or not yet vulnerable. So you can look into the mirror with clean admiration and no friction. When you look at similarity and transition only and take embodiment away, you recognize yourself and you're on that vulnerable journey, but she doesn't mirror that journey back. So you see someone like you, but she's not showing you where you're going. So that's recognition without activation. And the third intersection, embodiment and transition, is when you see your journey, but you don't recognize yourself fully in it. And that's inspiration without identification. So you see the path, but you can't fully place yourself on it. So identity proximity only activates when all three conditions are met simultaneously. And that's actually rare, which means when you feel it, it's not random jealousy. It's also not a character flaw. It's actually a very specific and meaningful convergence. And your system responded exactly as it should. You're not competitive. You're standing in front of a mirror that arrived too early. Brené Brown talks about scarcity among women, the subtle narrative that there aren't enough seats at the table. And she's right. But I think there's a layer underneath that even that doesn't fully explain. Scarcity is external conditioning, but identity proximity is internal architecture. And you can intellectually reject scarcity, but still feel identity proximity, because one lives in your beliefs and the other lives in your nervous system. That's why understanding the architecture matters more than rejecting the conditioning. So here's what I started practicing. When the activation showed up, I stopped trying to shame it away. Instead, I got curious about it. Because if another woman's trajectory activates something in me, that means she embodies something I value. That's not a character flaw, that's data. So instead of converting it into hierarchy, am I ahead? Am I behind? I started converting it into analysis. What did she build? What did she commit to? What trade-offs did she make? What has she stabilized that I'm still stabilizing? That shift moves you from identity threat to agency, from measurement to modeling. And the second shift is this. If I want to become the role model, I can't wait until I'm finished. The women who shaped me weren't finished. They were integrated. They weren't scanning sideways. They were anchoring forward. Maybe my work isn't to outrank other women. Maybe it's to stabilize my own identity. Because when identity stabilizes, comparison quiets. And when comparison quiets, depth returns. That's the whole thing. I don't think the hidden layer here is women being competitive by nature. I think it's about identity under construction in mirrored spaces. And mirrored spaces are powerful when you stop using them to rank yourself and instead using them to understand yourself. If any part of this activated something in you, I genuinely want to know which part. Not because I need the validation, but because this conversation is too important to have alone. And if you want to keep exploring this kind of thinking, the systems underneath the feelings we don't talk about, I'd love to have you here.